What's going on, everybody? I'm going to do another build today, and this build is going to be a fun one. I'm really excited to share it with you. I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but it's going to be a purely lifesteal focused build for Anubis. If anyone has ever played Smite in the past, they might know that Anubis is considered to be a pretty terrible mage. He's not good, but he is very fun to play. I love Anubis. He gets picked on a lot, but I really like him. He does a lot of damage, and besides that, doesn't really do anything else. So I think with this build, I figured you might as well put his damage to good use. Maybe build on his damage to have more utility, and that means building Lifesteal. So Lifesteal is a form of defense. Whenever you deal damage out, you get a percentage of it back as health. So I figured, why not use that on Anubis? Lifesteal is already pretty popular on Anubis because of how squishy he is. He doesn't have any defense. He doesn't have any escape. He stands in one place for two of his abilities. So really, Lifesteal is kind of important. You'll see a lot of people build Bancroft's Talon on him, which that item is in this build. But there are also a few other Lifesteal items. So with that, we'll go into it and start talking about the build. I don't want to show you it yet, and we'll just kind of go through each of the items and just show you what might work as far as late game for Anubis with this build. This is really to help him survive those team fights. He is known for dying a lot late game, so hopefully this build can help him out with that. So we're going to start off with Vampiric Shroud. This is again another item that you're going to want on most mages. It gives you, the biggest reason you want to get is because it's passive. If you kill an enemy, you restore 10 health and 10 mana. So besides that, and its base stats, is just a good starter item for any mage. And then the next item for the starter is going to be Boots 1. And then we're going to go, just as I usually do with most mages, 2 mana and then 2 health. I think that's fine. So that's a starter when you first get out of the fountain. It's a pretty normal start. And then after that, we're going to actually go, instead of Shoes of the Magi, which for most builds, I recommend Shoes of the Magi because of the magical power and the penetration. It's just a little bit better than Shoes of Focus. But for this build, we're going to try to get the CDR for Anubis off early. And that 10% cooldown reduction on Shoes of Focus, I think, is important for this build. Because, again, you're going to be relying on your damage to also be your lifesteal and your defense. So you're going to want to be able to pop those abilities off as much as you can in order to get the maximum amount of lifesteal. So that's why we're going to do Shoes of Focus. And then the next item after that, we're going to go right into Chronos Pendant. And you may notice I am not using Doom Orb. Doom Orb is actually not great for Anubis. I think you really need some sort of health item. Warlock Sash might be good on Anubis just because of how squishy he is. So I definitely would not use Doom Orb on Anubis. He's one of the few mages that I wouldn't recommend it on. But I will say that going CDR early with the Shoes of Focus and Chronos Pendant will help him to just deal more damage. And then once we get the Lifesteal online, it'll be even better. So after that, after Chronos Pendant, we're just going to go to Lifesteal, and we're going to go into Bancroft's. This will give you a huge magical power spike early on. It's a little expensive. I mean, it's the same price as Chronos Pendant, which is kind of amazing, just because of the magical power compared to Chronos Pendant. But as you can see, it has 12 magical lifesteal. Usually, that might be the only lifesteal that someone might get on Anubis. And with this build, we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep going with the Bancrofts, and we're actually going to go into Polynomicon next. So this is an item that is questionable on Anubis, but I think it could work if you use it right, if you use it strategically. Looking at the passive, once you use an ability, your next basic attack within the next 8 seconds will do 75% of your magical power as additional magical damage. So this means that you have to have a god who isn't going to only use abilities. So Polynomicon might work on gods like Ao Kuang. You might use it on Poseidon because Poseidon has a basic attack buff ability, so he's going to be using his basic attack more often. You will also see Polynomicon on Scylla because she has a root, which will guarantee that her next basic attack will hit. So I think with Anubis, he also has a root. Um, and so you might use Polynomicon that way. You might, instead of, so the main combo that Anubis has will be he roots, and then he pops his 3 down, and then he'll use his cone. That'll do the max amount of damage, or he might use his 2 and then his ultimate. What I think might work with Polynomicon would to change up the combo a little, be to change up the combo, and that would be to place his 3, his AoE down first, then root with his 2, and then after the root, you can guarantee your next basic attack with Polynomicon. And then after that, you can go into your 1 or your ultimate or whatever. So I think that Polynomicon could work because he does have a root. You can guarantee a basic attack, guarantee that extra damage after you root someone. You just have to strategically use his abilities so that Polynomicon will work. And again, it has 10 magical lifesteal, a little bit of extra mana. So we're just going to build off of that. This is going to hopefully make him not tanky, but just survivable. That's kind of what this build is all about. And then after Polynomicon, we're going to go into, guess what, even more lifesteal. We're going to go Pythag's Peace. This build is looking a little crazy right now, I know. It's definitely not a build that is something that you should use all the time. That's kind of the reason I'm doing it. I'm just trying to, figure out what other items you could go with. Now, this will give you 15 magical lifesteal, 10% cooldown reduction. So now we have 10% off that, 20% of Chronos Pendant, 10% of Pythag, so we have max cooldown now. So you can be popping your abilities off a lot, and you're going to be getting that lifesteal off, so it's going to be great. The aura isn't as important for Anubis. It gives you plus 20 magical power and 10% magical lifesteal to all allies within 70 units, so that's good. Not necessary. Not really getting this item for its passive. I'm getting it mainly because of lifesteal and the cooldown reduction, and it does have 70 magical power. That's not too bad at all. So that's where we're going next. And then our last item is going to be just a power spike. We're going to go right into Rada Tahuti. So we already have a good amount of magical power with this build, believe it or not, even though the items are a little unconventional. But now it'll be even better with Rada Tahuti. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to start doing this with all of my builds that I do. I'm going to start building the items so you can see the stats. I think that's actually really helpful. So if you look at the lifesteal, the max lifesteal you can have is 65. And with this build, we're going to have 37. So it's more than half of the max lifesteal that you can get. So he's going to be getting a lot of health back late game, and it might be very, very important to him, actually. Of course, the issue with this build is that I don't think there's any penetration, so that might be an issue. If you have someone building a lot of magical defense, you might be in trouble. If that is true, if you're playing against someone who has a lot of magical defense, instead of Rod, you might go Spear of Desolation. Now, this is not great in this build, mainly because of the passive. So we're maxing the cooldown reduction by 40%, so this passive won't really matter. If you kill an enemy god, all of your cooldowns are reduced by 8 seconds, so that doesn't really matter with this build because the cooldown reduction is already going to be so good. So you can do that. If you feel like you need the penetration, you can go Spear. Forget about the passive. It's got almost as good magical power as Rod of Tahuti, but I'm going to go with Rod of Tahuti and just go for that extra power spike. You're not going to have the penetration, but I think that's okay. Most teams won't have that much magical protection anyways, so that is the one weakness with this build. What you could do if you wanted, if you're playing against maybe some healers on your team, you could replace Rod with Divine Ruin. Now, this just will give you even more lifesteal. Let's show you how much. So we got 52, almost the max lifesteal with this kind of build. This is also an issue. If you're playing against a healer, you might want to switch it around a little bit. You might want to do Divine Ruin first. If I can find it, here we go. you might want to go Divine Ruin first, and then I would probably move Poly back, go into Bancrofts after Divine Ruin. Then you can go Polynomicon, and then you could just save Pythags for the last item, or you could replace Pythags with Roth Tahuti if you want, if you feel like the passive isn't good enough. But if you use this kind of build, you will be a lifesteal machine. Just take a look at your health when you start doing damage late game, and it'll be pretty fun, because you're gonna see you're just gonna get a bunch of health, and I think it's a fun little build. I haven't even tried this yet. I just kind of thought it up. Just maxing lifesteal I think is funny. So, you know, let me know how you think. If you want to try this build, let me know how it works. Is it the best build? Definitely not, but it could be pretty fun. It might help you out late game, and who knows, this could be a type of build that Anubis needs. You know, he's considered to be a pretty unsafe character, so maybe the answer is to just take his damage and add some utility to it to get him some lifesteal. And then for relics, on Anubis, I think Sanctuary is strong, because he stands in place for his 1 and his ultimate, so he's going to be taking a lot of damage, so you might need that. I think Beads is good. You could also go Sunder or Meditation or anything like that. So that's Beads and Sanctuary are probably good relics to have on him. So that's it. That's my Anubis builds. I hope you enjoy it. I'll definitely be coming up with a name for it before I post this video. Hopefully it'll be something clever. So let me know what you think. If you have any other gods that you're interested in right now, some other maybe fun builds that you've been working on, let me know. And in the next part of the video, I'm going to show you some footage so you can see how much lifesteal he's actually going to get from this build. And I'll also show you some of the Polynomicon procs so you can see how much damage he's going to get from that. And if you have any comments about the video, please let me know. I thank you for watching, and here you go. Here's some footage showing the build. I really wanted to show you the poly on Anubis, so coming right up with this raw, you're going to see the poly damage. I'm not sure how much damage it actually does, but you can see I placed the 3 first, and then I mummify, and then the hit after, you can see, took a bunch of Raw's life. So that's just a little bit about the poly, and I think you'll see it again coming up in a few seconds here on the Guan Yu. I think the poly procs on that. So again, it's tough for me to see the numbers sometimes because there's so many when all the damage is popping off. But hopefully right here you can see it on Guan. You can see 102 damage, I think, from poly. I think that's the poly going off, but I'm not sure. This part I want to show the lifesteal from the build. So this is almost full build. You can see the health bar. All it takes is 1 combo, and he's almost full health again. And then we'll just show it a couple times. I try to get really low health. This is against bots. I try to get really low health and then just show you how much lifesteal is going on. So you can see he's almost half health there. And then in this next, I think maybe not this one, but then yeah, the next one, you can see his health almost goes back to full with a lifesteal on this build. So it's pretty crazy. And then this last clip right here, I think shows the lifesteal potential the best. So it's this one right here. You can just see he gets 2 enemies, and off the 2 enemies, his health is pretty much back to full. So that's the lifesteal build. I thank you for watching. Bye bye.